Ryan Patterson, as you mentioned early in the show, owner of San Diego Legion, MLR chairman, and we wanted to get an in-depth discussion for our listeners, to our viewers, whatever it might be, on the state of rugby here in America. What are you looking forward to speaking to Ryan?
We're always excited to talk to Ryan, as this is such a lovely person, but especially as being such a driving force of everything that goes on at the Legion, get his thoughts on Quest for the Shield, a bit of the behind the scenes and more the background that goes into that, as well as what you'll see on the field. And then really, with all he does at the MLR, the state of MLR at the moment, what's the vision, where we're going, and then really probably the icing on the cake for me is Ryan is so involved in the game in so many different ways that you wouldn't see, that I'd like to try and pull back some of the layers and shine some light on some of the other stuff he does to support the game in America, because he really is a special contributor that all things rugby in the USA. And we are joined by one of the main men in the MLR, Ryan Patterson. Welcome back to the Rundown. Great to have you.
Oh, thanks for having me, Corbs. You're making me blush.
We bumped well out of here, the Wide Shoulders Club. You and me, we couldn't have that little skinny back in the middle. So let's get into it a little bit, though. But really, for me, I think let's start with Quest for the Shield. Very sort of forward-thinking idea from you and the San Diego Legion, obviously in the MLR and almost startup rugby territory over a number of years as we've been in this growth phase, and maybe some teams haven't had that sort of insight or resource. What was sort of the thought behind it, and then how do you feel about it?
Well, it's kind of an evolutionary piece, I think. When we first started it, it was shoulder content. It was all the things that we thought that we would be taking advantage of as the trajectory from 2018, 2019, and everything was all systems go. And then when it started to become about COVID and the hardships that took place and what we went through, I think the story arc changed and the thought process changed. It's really telling a full story about not just the players, but also the business, about what the state of the union in rugby in the US, the hardships that we were facing, and now this dramatic kind of growth phase again. So we're super excited about what it tells and what it is. It's hard to relive some of the moments from a Legion owner. But
exactly.
To be part of history in the making of establishing rugby at a professional level in the US is massive. It's going to require time spent away from family members, times of financial hardship.
There were some days where we were like, what are we doing?
We all come here for one reason. We're here to play rugby and we're here to win.
We write our own script called Starting Today.
Cause victory really got my name on it. Victory really got my name on it.
I don't want to spoil too much of it for people that might be watching as well. It is available on Amazon Prime, so you can get it, rent it, buy it, whatever you want. What has been the feedback from it so far?
So far, I've been hearing everyone tell me that they loved what it was. A lot of people, very heartbreaking for them if you were a San Diego Legion fan. Again, not too much detail, but you'll see some pieces that talk about our history. But everybody says it was powerful, and just how amazed they are, how much energy we put into this and to the growth of the game. We've been very, very pleased with the feedback so far.
And then do you think this is something that might continue from a San Diego Legion point of view or an MLR point of view, that we should see more projects like this?
It's actually, because we've had a camera crew follow us for 5 years, Corbs, there's a lot of things that we could get into in pieces and player specific, coach specific, adventure specific. Imagine rugby and the adventures with the kids. There's so many pieces to this that could be created from just this offshoot. So.
Yeah, very exciting. I think fans in the US, as we're finding with this show and everything, are desperate for content and shoulder content and more sort of entertainment value around the sport that they love.
I completely agree. They want to get to know people. They want to get to understand what rugby really means and the culture behind it, because that's I think one of the biggest selling points. And then also that they really want to understand the game. So we're going to continue to push the 101 kind of concepts and make this work.
And I think it really pulls a little bit of the curtain behind sort of the reality of rugby in America, where it's come, where it's gotten to. It kind of tells its own story of the journey, just while you're also getting into all the individual stories.
Agreed. And especially around the players and what they've sacrificed. I mean, some of these guys could play at the highest levels in lots of sports, and for them to choose rugby has been an unbelievable, hardship for them at times.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, let's shift a little bit more to MLR 2025. And I'll start first with your San Diego Legion owner hat on. New season, obviously, new head coach. How are you feeling coming into 2025?
We're really excited. The boys have come in great shape, and John's completely focused on fitness and making sure that our boys can run all around the field for the entire 80 minutes. So we are excited to put a team on the field. We're back at USD. So we're the boys have already been to home and gotten a chances to run on the grass and see everything. The energy's been fantastic. We think we've added some pieces to the team that are going to, increase our strength and speed and size. So we're going to be competitive this year.
And definitely, and coming back to USD, obviously Torero, a chance to really create a special atmosphere there as well, with the capacity and the ability for that should be a close to sold out venue for you guys.
That's the goal, right? Is to pack the house, to make it the energy of the game to come to life for the people that are new to the game, and to be able to give them an opportunity to culturally be closer and feel the impact. So.
All right. Well, now let's transition to MLR 2025 on a whole. Obviously, very exciting times for the league. Last year, there were a number of successes, sort of culminating with the final here at Snapdragon. What is your sort of outlook on this upcoming season?
To coming out the 24 season, when you look at not only what happened in MLR, but the test matches, international test matches, the success of the USA team with Anthem translating into on the field with 3 wins coming into this year, I can't be more excited for 25. And I don't just say that off the cuff. I mean that when you look at, again, another slew of international test matches in the U.S. to bring the energy of rugby at the highest level, the USA team and what it can accomplish. And then you combine that with what's happening at the MLR. I think the teams that are here are dedicated to winning, dedicated to putting on the best product. And, well, I can just say that we've got a great, exciting announcement about our production partner. We're going to be able to be seen in a lot more homes this year. So.
Very exciting stuff, and hopefully we'll be on the cusp of that when it's allowed to be announced. But also, just from a league standpoint on field, this by far, me and Will touch on it every year, but it keeps recycling, is the most competitive year of MLR. If you look at the squads across the board, everyone seems to be bringing it to the table. What are your thoughts from that sort of side?
I think you struck it. You hit it exactly. Everybody's committed to putting the best team on the field, and we continue to raise the bar and the level of excellence that MLR is trying to achieve. I mean, we are pointing in the right direction, moving upward, gaining talent, growing talent, and then our commitment to growing U.S. talent is all going to show itself here this year, I think.
And from a league point of view, are there any goals or benchmarks or sort of things you're setting yourselves out to try and achieve this year or build on from last year?
I think that's a broad question. So if you mean from a high performance level, obviously it's continuing to refine the play, gain ground on being one of the premier leagues that people can look forward to be in rugby. Our goal has always been to set ourselves up at the very top of the table in terms of Prem or Super Rugby. We want to be mentioned there. Off the field, commercially, all of us are trying to fill the seats, put people in there, get more exposure on the game. And I think that we're set to not only on a commercialization basis, but also with the Imagine Rugby program, our grassroots efforts have borne fruition. We just crossed 500,000 kids have now had an opportunity to have a rugby ball in their hands. So all of those things and pieces are coming together. 25 is going to be our year.
And I think that transitions well to sort of state of the game in the US at the moment. And obviously, I think you cannot ignore, as you're looking at this journey, trajectory to 2031, growth of the sport, sort of how influential these MLR teams on the ground in their areas, really like cultivating a rugby sort of base from the grassroots down to fans to supporting the club game in their area. It's a really heavy lift, but without the MLR, I think it would be in a much worse place.
Obviously we have a great relationship with World Rugby and USA Rugby and youth and high school, which a lot of people don't know. Those are the components that kind of make up the rugby universe here in the US, and MLR is a key component of that. We see ourselves as the ground troops. And if you're going to attack something, you've got to have the right strategy. And for that strategy, it takes the right shock troops. And we think that each one of those MLR teams is a node for us to build the rugby culture around in the US.
And Ryan, first time you were on the rundown, you broke some pretty big news for us about the Fiji All Blacks game coming to Snapdragon way before really it was announced out there. We were sort of one of the first on the scene with that story. Anything else like that you can share for this season? Anything else our fans should be looking out for maybe in San Diego?
Well, I did mention that there's some amazing international test matches. And here in San Diego, it looks like we will be working with the U.S. to have the U.S.-Japan game here.
Fire.
Yeah, so that should be awesome. And then we do have one more thing in the works that I can't quite mention yet, but I promise to come back onto the show. But this one will be major if we can pull it together.
Oh, amazing.
It'd be on that same level as the last announcement.
And then in the US right now, the Eagles are starting to take form. Scott Lawrence is in charge. There's a plan to 31. You've got the alignment with Anthem and that sort of synergy with World Rugby into the product. How excited are you about the prospects of where this could go to?
I touched on it earlier when we were just talking about it. I mean, the wins coming off for the USA team. I know that you're involved with some of those things as well, and your coaching efforts here on the West Coast have borne fruit. Each one of these nodes is now developing players and giving them an opportunity, and then being able to take those to Anthem and having them stay together, I think, is giving us an opportunity to see what we can really do as a U.S. team.
And what are the biggest challenges do you see in some of the growth of the game here in the United States?
Continues to be fighting. You know, U.S. is one of the most dominant sporting cultures there is, right? And so you're fighting for oxygen, fighting for mind share. That I think is going to be one of the key things, is that we can stay consistent in our growth plan and also add more teams. That to me is where I think that our future is going to be in.
Very exciting stuff. And then if you were looking from, you know, what makes the sport sort of stand out in America, if there's some people that get a snip of this or they get a clip, how would you pitch rugby to the average American fan?
Ooh, that's a... Wow, coming at me hard in the
curveballs for 7:30 a.m.
I would say it is the most physical sport there is, the most endurance-based, charismatic, culturally based sport there is. I mean, it's a constantly moving, constantly physical sport. It's like tackle basketball. If you've ever wanted to see Michael Jordan or LeBron James get tackle going down the middle, that's what this would look like. I think the energy that we create is second to none, and I think that the fans and the cultural base is something that everybody would want to be a part of. And I think we've done a great job building an event. I mean, we've had Marshmello, we've had, these opportunities. Yeah. We understand the music, we understand the entertainment piece. It's the best ticket in town. So come out.
No, definitely. You don't have to convert me. I'm sold. I'm one of the preaching the good book of rugby across this country as I think one of my goals and one of the lanes I'm supposed to be in here in America. And then probably Ryan, for me, I think to be an MLR owner, you have to have, maybe a lot of special characteristics to maybe see the vision of the game, to get behind the idea, but then also invest a lot of hard-earned money, time, and resources into. What was sort of the moment where you realized, yes, I'm in, like, this is what I want to do, and what sort of captivated you with the sport to be doing what you're doing now?
My adventure starts all the way back with my kids actually playing the game, and we were in Ireland the same time that I was afforded the opportunity to buy the San Diego Legion franchise and started here. We were also in Ireland playing with under 14s, and our kids went overseas, and we were actually all won 3 games, the 3 games that we were there, and each time we went, and all of the coaches and all of the people in the town were saying that this never happens. This is never a part of it. If these kids could stay together, they could be something. And that kind of tied into this percolated. And then I had the opportunity to do the franchise. And then I was in a meeting for the World Cup bid. And all of those things kind of all came together. So I got sucked into the rugby, and now it's in me. And now I love it and want to see what it can do. And now, it's only grown since I've been able to meet people like you and Will Hooley, you guys, and your growth, and seeing what you guys have created here, and then the Mikey Teos of the world. I mean, we're growing some of the best people on the planet, and I want to see that culture go.
And I think that's something that maybe someone on the outside doesn't quite always see for you, is how passionate and how invested you are, not just from Legion, not just from MLR, but the sort of rugby community, from, helping me in personal matters to helping support this show to, if you go down to USA Rugby, down to Chula Vista, where we were there you can see your name is donating on some of the buildings for the sevens. You are so invested in this sport and are such a sort of behind-the-scenes driver that I sometimes feel you deserve more credit than you get.
Well, I appreciate that. But I mean, honestly, just like every other rugby person, you don't want to stand out. You want to stand in. Yeah. So we're trying to make that happen. And, it's going to take all of us to do it. I mean, I'm so proud to have all the other owners committed to it. I continue to push them to want to create more opportunities at the grassroots level. That's all we can do is each one of us pitch in the best that we can and make this grow.
And then if you had my last question for you, one wish list, and you could put one sort of thing on your wish list that you could choose that would maybe help you in this situation or help grow the game in the States, what would you pick?
To me, the number one thing is getting more fans. We need to double the amount of fans in the stands. We need more eyes on it. We need more opportunity for people to see it because once you're in, you become an evangelist. And once you're in, you're all the way in. So,
amen to that, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, buddy.
All right. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks.